All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody out there having a good day. Sweating out some early MLB. 2 games going right now, 2 games still left, so money definitely not safe. 8 games tonight, Gyiraszin. Doesn't look like any weather. No weather is good to see. You wanted some runs yesterday. You asked for some runs. We got some runs, Gyiraszin. Yankees,
Nice.
awesome stuff. Dodgers, man, I didn't like the Dodgers as much as they performed. Absolutely nuked yesterday. Solid 8-game slate, a couple spots. Pitching-wise, I think will be pretty chalky. Bats, yeah, relatively spread out amongst like 3 teams maybe. Pretty obvious to know, though, Yankees, Dodgers will be decently owned once again. Excited to talk some baseball with you. Hope everybody out there, Michael W., Gator Nation, Ben, Russell, having a good day. How are you doing today, Gyiraszin? Looks like it's pretty humid in the Midwest again.
Oh, man. It is pretty warm here today, but not what they're calling for next week, man. Next Monday, they're saying it's supposed to be like 98 or some shit. So, fuck, man, that's nuts stick to your leg kind of shit right there. That's no fun. As we know up here in the Midwest, it gets humid as shit. But, man, it's been a good day. You know, hey, did the day job, had to go around some factory and plants today and sell some robots, did some shit today. So I had some fun doing that. But, hey, man, it's always fun when we got a little day baseball we can kind of pay attention to. But, you know, you mentioned all the runs yesterday. Man, it is good to see. We're getting a little warmer. I think, you know, we were talking about, you know, should you always stack, you know, 5-3, whatever else. And we were kind of talking about it. And I think at the beginning of the year, I you know, there's no reports that the ball's been dumbed down, but we all kind of know the ball's been dumbed down a little bit, it seems. So, you know, those big runs weren't just there as they were. Now, we did see 2 double-digit games last night. You know, we did talk. We like some Yankees that worked out for us. The Dodgers, you know, we talked a little bit. We like the lefties, but man, we got to remember how shitty that fucking Texas bullpen is, man. Like, it's fucking bad. Like, they're terrible. So
we'll get them again tonight.
Yeah, we got it again tonight. I mean, you know, just kind of looking, it actually made me go back and revisit some of the bullpen stats. You know, just so you know, the worst ERA: Colorado, Angels, White Sox, Texas, Toronto. I mean, so you know, there's a couple of the worst bullpens. So, you know, we got to keep remembering how bad these bullpens are. But yeah, Dodgers got on it early. It was good. But today we got an interesting slate. We got a little bit different than yesterday. We had a lot of options, but today we got a couple different, you know, pitching seems to be a little bit more narrow. There's one chalk guy on the high end, one chalk guy on the low end, where we've had a couple options here the last couple days kind of to move and pivot off of. So I think today you're going to see a guy like Bryce Miller with probably freaking 50% ownership, 40% ownership today. Peterson could be the same. So I think that's going to be the popular pitching combination here today, especially on DK. So, you know, we'll talk about some guys that, you know, maybe you can use to get around that a little bit here. But, man, it's always fun when baseball's getting back in. But, man, we got some big golf here coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And Joey fucking Chestnut can't eat in the hot dog contest. What the fuck is that all about? And that's kind of shitty. But, you know, Title, isn't that like, you know, being NASCAR, and then you have the Pepsi 600 and telling the Coca-Cola car he can't race? It's kind of the same thing, in my opinion. I mean, who cares if he's got a sponsorship from somebody else? Nathan's doesn't own the food eating thing. So what's the fucking difference? Like, you can't be like that as a sponsor. I mean, who cares?
I didn't even know all that. Yeah, that sounds a little weird.
Joey said he couldn't. He gets sponsored by some Imperial Foods and he's repping vegan hot dogs. But I mean, who cares? Like, Nathan, you're afraid of a vegan hot dog? You fucking pussy. That's bullshit. Don't be afraid of that fake plant bull crap. Come on, we're Americans. So either way, good baseball slate here today. I'm excited about some golf. As we know, we got a couple guys in the live final, Hoop and Tambo. So we got to give them guys a shout out. Good luck to them.
I think that's the end of the month, I believe.
Is it the end of the month?
Like I think it's by y'all in Detroit, like June 28th by y'all in Detroit. So, but I don't think it's this week.
They having a live final in Detroit?
That's what or Chicago. Yeah, no, I think it is Detroit. Hoop and I.
It could be. It could be. But
you guys got a course down. Yeah,
that's how I felt when I found out the DK live final for baseball this year.
Chicago.
I was
I know.
Kicking the fucking balls. Like, who wants to go to Chicago? Nobody.
Now imagine Detroit times that by 2. That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you right now, the worst live final spot I've ever been to was New Orleans, hands down. That place is a fucking dump. It was winter and it smelled like piss and puke all over. It was so bad. Fuck that.
I have heard that.
Yeah, it's bad news. It was bad. So, but either way, but title, man, do we have any weather we got to worry about? I didn't even look. I didn't even think of that.
No, it looks good. Weather looks pretty solid. If anything, Roth will tweet something out or follow it. It's free on his weather report as well. But I see absolutely nothing. Benny's in here. Takedown. Jake, Sean, Toga. What is going on, fellas? So we saw. Well, let me check this out. Shiptimizer isn't working to make lineups. Is it a known issue? I have not even tried. I just hopped on the air. I actually saw Tambo. I was watching a little PGA show, and it was working for them PGA, so let's give it a try. MLB, Shiptimizer right here. Again, this is free right now. Any monthly or annual package or MLB only, PGA only. This is our optimizer. We came out about a month ago. Still free for any member. Right now, it will be charged an additional add-on. Definitely start messing around with it as you see projections, our ownership. So let me just try and build a random team. Let's say we want to lock Sonny Gray. We want 40% here. I have to make 2 changes. Again, all your build settings. Let's say we want 2 players under 5%. We don't want to spend all our salary. Again, I'm just doing random stuff right here. Again, we went over this. There will be a tutorial sometime later on when it is charged, when we have other features added. But I've talked on the show with Gyiraszin a couple times. You want like min 3 Dodgers, you can do that, etc. So let's build some teams right here. 20 teams. Let's see if it's working or not. Looks good so far. Yeah, looks like it's working right here. So try and refresh it maybe. If not, hit up Shipping Nation in Discord, hit up Tambo in Discord. Again, this is what you see. We said 49-8 lineups, nothing more than that. So you see 49-8 is the highest. We wanted at least 3 Dodgers. So let me check quick. Hold on. Where's exposures? That's what I was looking for. You see Dodgers, all of them, because we said min 3 Dodgers. We're that much overweight to the field on all of these guys. Glaber, we did hit the lock button on Sonny Gray, so it makes sense. With this underweight on all of them, you can go to positions, third base, see where you're at. There's so many cool features on here. Again, if you're a member, it's free. Why not mess around with it? It'll be the cheapest in the industry when we do charge for it. Very easy. If you have any recommendations, things you want added or whatever, Shiptimizer questions you have, go to the Shiptimizer section in the Discord and drop it right there. But looks like it's working for us. And again, if you want to be a member, Shipping Nation. Oh, I should go like this. Right here. Join the nation. And we'll talk some ball after this. Weekly, that does not get you Discord, does not get you the Shiptimizer. $69 a month, $389 a month for the 6-month package, $699, which comes out to $58 a month for the annual package. Can't wait for NFL season. We'll have college football this year. U.S. Open, big boy prizes in PGA tomorrow. MMA this week. NASCAR this week. NBA Finals tonight. Pump for that. NHL Stanley Cup Finals. NASCAR. So much going on right now. And again, if you do join any monthly 6-month annual package, Shiptimizer is also included. Let's talk some baseball. Gyiraszin. Again, solid slate. And in terms of pitching, I think you nailed it. The pretty obvious combo. Bryce Miller, David Peterson. Now, if I had to play one of the two and pick what chalk I'd rather eat, much rather David Peterson for me. 6.3K, whereas Bryce Miller 9K. There's just a lot more pivots up top. I'll throw it to you right on that note, though. Sonny Gray, the highest at 10K, I think is in play. Nick Lodolo, I think is in play at 9.6. Same with Petta at 9.3. Bybee at 8.8. I think all of them are totally fine pivots off of Bryce Miller at half the ownership or less. Walker Buehler's there at 8.3. Christopher Sanchez rounds it out at 8K. I think every single pitcher in that range will get ownership. You can make a case for all of them. In terms of ownership, though, I think it's clearly Bryce Miller first, Sonny Gray second, and then from there it might be mix and match a little bit. Break down 8K and above.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. As I mentioned earlier, I think Miller is going to be the obvious chalk just because the White Sox suck. And we know the White Sox sucks. And they're going to roll out, 6-7 righties off of him. And he's got a 28% K rate against right-handed pitchers. So, I mean, over on DK, Miller is like 9,000. He's the fourth highest pitcher. I think he's the third highest over on FanDuel. I think Lodelo and Gray are the two highest. But so yeah, I think Miller is going to be the chalky guy. He's somebody everybody's going to do like a match with the White Sox. Sonny Gray, he's interesting, but man, his pitch count hasn't been really that high. You look at it, I think it's been let me just double check here. Yeah, here 4 starts in a row. He has not got past the 6th inning mark. So, man, on FanDuel, I'm not going to pay up for a guy that hasn't even got, qualified for a quality start in his last 4 starts. So that's what kind of turns me off him on FanDuel is just, I'm kind of concerned about that. I mean, he's at 89, 86, 74, 88, 89. I mean, he hasn't broke 90 pitches in his last few starts. So for me to pay the highest price for a guy like that, I'm kind of hesitant there. So that's why I think Miller for me is up on top, but I think Lodelo's interesting. The problem is we've mentioned it. Indians don't strike out enough. So, for me to pay up, the second highest pitcher on both sites, I'd rather have a better matchup than the Indians. Now I think Pivetta is interesting. He's probably really one of the best, talented pitchers here. And he's got a Philadelphia team, 9,300. I believe Realmuto got hurt, didn't he? So, that's going to make that lineup a little shorter. So, I think Pivetta is interesting. I think that's a guy I'd probably pivot off of from Miller on DK. I think Pivetta is an excellent choice. Now, Bibby, I mean, it's kind of hard to play a guy in the home run park, right? I mean, it's just Cincinnati's not our favorite park to be really playing anybody. I mean, the talent's there. If you wanted to go there, you could do that. Buehler is another interesting one. Now, Sanchez is the one I think is interesting. Boston's been absolutely terrible against left-handed pitching. So I think at 8K, I think he's really interesting. I think he may not get as much ownership as he should, but I think Sanchez is interesting. But up here on the top, I think Miller is the clear choice. I think he's going to be highly owned, especially in larger field tournaments. I think he could be above the 40% mark, to be truthful. Him and Peterson both today, I think, could be in that realm. I think most teams are going to have one or the other in probably more. I'm not sure if it'd be more Peterson than Miller. I've been, kind of thinking either way, they're both going to be high, but I really like Pivetta. I think Pivetta is probably one of the best pivots. So, but yeah, I mean, there's you could literally play almost any of these guys up here in the range, except, I just haven't really been a fan of attacking against the Indians here with Lodelo. I think he's just priced up too high for that matchup. But man, I think Miller, everybody's going to see White Sox and they're just going to click his name.
Yeah. So a lot of people coming over from golf. Love it. Tambo and Hoop just went live again. If you're in the golf streets, huge prize pools, make sure to check them out. Check on the content on the site. The course fit rankings, I'm always looking at those. Shout out Lee. The tier rankings, Hoop Tambo on there, Lee as well. The Stone, of course, with DGen and everything. Definitely make sure to check out the golf content. Best in the industry. And if you are just joining, you can watch the show now and then go back a little bit. Or if you just want to go back now, put on 1.5x. We did a little Shiptimizer stuff again, just briefly. We were trying to make sure it was working because someone couldn't get it to work. It sounds like he found the problem. You do need a monthly membership or the MLB membership. But yeah, talked about it a little bit. If you want to rewind, Gyiraszin and I have talked about it a couple shows.
I'd hate to hear my voice at 1.5x. It'd probably sound like I'm having a safety meeting with myself.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go back and see what it is, Gyiraszin, because I am curious as well. My thoughts up here in this range. I'm in on Sonny Gray as a pivot. I agree with you. The pitch count, it's not as high as some of these guys. The weather's not great in St. Louis, but if you're looking at Bryce as a pivot, he's going to be lower owned than Bryce Miller, maybe half the ownership. Like, I wouldn't be shocked since he has a whole 1,000 more. He has a higher K prop, both 6.5, minus 130 on the over for Gray, though, whereas the under Bryce Miller is minus 155. So, again, if you're it's not just K props, the matchup's way easier for Miller, but we play an ownership game. Gray definitely has the upside to get there. So I'm fine paying 1K more. Pivetta and Sanchez, I think, are my favorites in this range, though. because it's warm across the country, especially in the Midwest. And a lot of places like St. Louis, 88 degrees, pretty humid there for Sonny Gray. You go to, where was the other one we're looking at? Cincinnati with Bybee and Lodolo, 85 degrees, a little humid. Give me Pivetta and Sanchez pitching 70 degrees in Boston. Yeah, like I look at weather, especially as it gets in the heart of summer, better pitching weather there. Pivetta has been solid this year. Sanchez against Boston against the lefties, like you said, at only 8K. Both solid K props in that game as well. Sign me up. 6.5 Pivetta, juice on the under. Pretty much the same as Bryce Miller, though. 5.5 Sanchez, juice on the over. I like the pitching duel in that game. I'm out on Buehler. If you're playing 150 lineups, I would definitely play him. But this range is so strong, I would still rather Bybee and Lodolo. I think they have a little more upside. But yeah, how I rank this range: Pivetta 1, Sanchez 2, Miller 3, or I guess Sonny Gray 3 at ownership, Miller 4. 8K and below, not too many options. How I think it's going to go is David Peterson. We talked about him a lot. Way too cheap at 6.3K against the Marlins. Good play, will be popular. Not much more to add there for me. Braxton Garrett, the other side of that game, coming off an awful start against Tampa Bay. Was solid before that, though. 7.1K, I think, is interesting. And I guess the last guy, someone mentioned it in chat, is Jonathan Cannon, coming off like a 13 DK performance. He's literally 6K against the Mariners, who have strikeouts in a good pitching park. It can get you all the Yankees, all the Dodgers, maybe something like that with Sonny Gray. So I guess that's the pivot from the Peterson. I don't like Cannon that much. I think Garrett's fine, but I'd rather pivot in the upper tier than I would off of Peterson down low. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think this bottom tier is interesting. You mentioned Garrett. I mean, you look at the guy's game log, you're about to throw up. Like, I'm going to click on this guy, man. He's like, it's terrible. But you mentioned he started out pretty good. The Mets matchup there isn't the greatest. I think that's why I think I got Peterson a little bit higher here. But I don't mind that matchup against Miami, especially at that price, 6,300. Cannon, I do think, is interesting. The only thing that worries me is the last start he only had 60 pitches. Now the start before he had 102 if you look at his game log. But I know he's been up and down. But man, I mean, Seattle is just one of the teams obviously we've been chasing all year. So I think he's in play, but I think it's really risky. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get there. But he's definitely in play. I don't have any interest in really. I mean, I'm not interested. John Gray now, he's coming off the IL for Texas. I've seen somebody, I wonder who the Texas pitcher is supposed to be. Unless that's something changed, John Gray is supposed to be.
So it's a second start. Last time, I think he only got like mid-30s pitches.
37 pitches. I read he was only going to go 3 innings today, 3 to 4 innings.
So it's mainly bullpen. I think that's probably, there you go.
And hey, we get
so you can't play
bullpen.
him. You can't play him at 3 to 4.
Yeah, you can't play great today. But, I mean, Texas bullpen stinks. A lot of times you like playing up the matchup. But if you don't got the horses to match up, it don't matter what the hell you're throwing out there. But, I mean, I think today there are a few options heavier on the top side than the bottom side. I think there's a couple guys you could use here on the bottom. I think the other guys here are a lot more riskier than we've seen in like past slates when you want to pivot to somebody. So, I think there's only a couple guys down here that I'm really even interested in, but it's not like up top where, in the 8K range, you can almost literally make an argument for almost everybody, really. But I think down here, I mean, if you wanted to go Sassoni, I mean, I'm not doing something like that. Definitely don't like Lynch. Soriano, I'm not a fan there. Just don't have any upside. I mean, there's not much really there. So I think that's why Peterson's going to be really high owned. But I think the pivot off Peterson would probably be Garrett if you wanted to go there. But for me, I think the most used combo on DK today by far will be Miller and Peterson. I can almost guarantee you.
I 100% agree with that. And yeah, the more I look at it, like I'm not going to give away any of the pitcher rankings or anything today, but we have 6 pitchers. 7 pitchers pretty much in a tier of their own, then a pretty big fall off. One of those falling off is Braxton Garrett. He's not ranking pretty well for us. And I don't like Cannon much down below either. So, yeah, I think how I'd make it real easy. You can play Sanchez and everyone above. If you want to include Buehler, fine. He'd be the one I would take out. Bibby and Lodolo, I'm fine with. But again, that hitting environment, I'd prefer the other ones in that range. And then just play David Peterson. Like Peterson's chalk, I'm willing to eat on this slate because of his price. It gets you a lot of big bats. When we get to bats, yes, I want to play for some. I'm good with Sanchez, Peterson. You can fit a 5-man stack. Bryce Miller, Peterson, again, if you do play that, then I'd be hesitant on playing some chalk. But 8K and above, mix and match there. Peterson is the guy cheap. That's how I see this slate. Again, with our rankings, I think Braxton Garrett, who will get a little ownership, I think he'd probably be the one I throw away. My final rankings, Pivetta, Sanchez, Gray. Actually, no, Peterson 1, Pivetta, Sanchez, Gray, I'll say. Who's your top 4? And Russell, make sure I just responded to you in the YouTube. Try and do this right now because I want to make sure we get this figured out. And you got what you're supposed to. You got a discount or you got money back when you did upgrade. So I want to make sure we get this taken care of. So I wanted to say that out loud. So you get this done on the show with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I got Miller 1, and then I'll go Pivetta 2, and then I'd go Gray 3, and then I'd probably go Sanchez and then Peterson. I got Peterson a little bit lower just because I think he's going to be chalky. And if I can build a team maybe with a little heavier pitching, I think that is going to make me a little bit different here today. So in a tournament sense, generally recently I've been kind of paying down, but I think you can stay in the Miller. I mean, if you wanted to go Miller, I guess you could, but you could literally go Sanchez if you wanted, include Sanchez and then, somebody like Miller if you wanted to, or try to be a little different with Sanchez. But yeah, I'm just not going to do Miller Peterson on DK because I think that's going to be pretty popular. And then when you do that, they're all going to get led to the same bats. So I think by mixing it up a little bit here today, especially going a little heavier, it would be a good pivot to make today.
I like it. Jason, I love hearing this as well. So we talked about this in depth yesterday, kind of single entry series. Yesterday he saw 4-man stack 1 with the Dodgers. Now he gets the reasoning with the 4 or 5-man stacks. Yeah, with 24 teams, like, yeah, if you get every single one-off right or the highest score at each position, like you can win every GPP, but it's a lot harder to one-off home runs. You're making pretty much home run parlays, which many people know out there is very tough to do. Instead, you picked 5 Yankees, you picked 5 Dodgers. It's a lot easier to get to the top of the leaderboard, needing one team to go off versus multiple different outcomes. So I like it.
And in baseball too, man, you can't get flustered. I know it's frustrating when your guy comes up, you're like, he's only got 4 at bats or, 5 possibly if he's at the top of a lineup. Man, I've seen it. My teams have been, middle of the pack. And then all of a sudden, like last night, the Dodgers had the freaking 7-run 7th or 6th inning. They had 4 home runs. Like, dude, you stack the Dodgers, you literally could have been in the bottom or in the middle. And the next thing you know, it's like a freaking slot machine. Choo, 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 choo.
Yep.
Just, up at the top.
Baseball.
Yeah, and you know what I was surprised about, Title? Yesterday, a lot of them Yankees weren't even that high owned. I think Stanton was less than like 5%. He hit that homer after Judge. I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be nice. But, some of the Brew Crews didn't pay off last night. They didn't do shit. I was a little disappointed in some of them Brew Crew, even though Adames kind of had a late stolen base, kind of helped out a little bit for me. But Sanchez didn't come through. But, man, them Dodgers kicked some ass last night. But, yeah, that's why we stack, like you catch a big inning, you're going to get it all. I mean, you're getting all those points. You get a 3-run homer and 2 of the dudes on base are your guys. I mean, that's like a double bonus. So, yeah, it definitely does make a difference.
Yeah, and like you're saying for baseball, I mean, even if you're in first place and there's only 1 inning left and you're up 12, like if that's basketball and you're up with 1 minute left or 2 minutes left, you're safe. One swing of the bat, at least 14 points can swing. Like over the years, there's been some brutal swings. I always remember Justin McMahon. I think I'm saying this right. There's probably not watching. I don't want to remind the bad
I do
times,
remember that.
But he was live streaming it. I think it was like 250K. And then one swing of the bat, I want to say
he was bragging that he was going to win 250 if this guy got an out. And he's like, as soon as he gets it on, win 250K, and the dude hit like a 2-run homer, and then he fell down like.
And he fell down. Yeah, he fell way down, and like you go from almost winning 250K to like 5K or whatever it was.
Right.
Like that's baseball, and that's the variance, and that's also why DFS is so hard. And I could go millions of ways with this. That's why it's so top heavy nowadays. not only do you need to be great, you need to get lucky because third place ain't going to pay the bills long term. First place is what you need. So there's so much that goes involved. But back to it, baseball, you can be climbing up leaderboards fast. You could have went from last place and you had those Dodgers, you had Teoscar and Freddie and Ohtani or Hayward or whoever was going back to back or whatever. You just went from last to at least min cashing and probably higher. That's the beauty of baseball, but you have to know the game you're playing. And I wanted to shout out quick, Shep Dog. He put in the Discord 22 lineups in the $3. This was my best up top. Love the Shiptimizer because it clicks on names I would never when hand building. And that is exactly why. Even if you single entry build or hand build, I think using an optimizer is good. He had 1.4% Perdomo, 3.5% Hayward in a Dodger stack. Hold on, I'm black. Do you still hear me, Gyiraszin?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, at least you can hear me. My thing's tweaking. I might have to leave StreamYard. Oh, I'm back. My computer is tweaking.
I can see you. Yeah,
all right, we're good. I'm good. But yeah, that's like you need low owned pieces even in more popular stacks. It's maybe hard to click Jason Hayward if you're hand building. You see that in the Shiptimizer. It makes a lot of sense. Low ownership team. That is why I think Shiptimizer, you mentioned a lot. You like optimizers even building one team. I think it's very good to do that as well. So I mean,
like for example, title not to cut you up, but if you were using optimizer yesterday, that Stefanik guy came up for the Angels on every optimizer. After it was announced he was min 2K on DK. He's hitting first, for the Angels yesterday. He was ended up being 30% owned in, some of the tournaments I was in. And I can almost assure you, almost everybody who was sitting on there probably had an optimizer that warrant that, it's not either. You got to go through every fucking lineup and look at everybody's price, or you're not doing yourself a justice. At least the optimizers will warn you like, hey, like if you need this one off, and then if you don't like that 2K guy, cut him out, rerun the optimizer. It'll tell you the next guy who was up. If you don't like that guy, cut him out and run it a fucking again. Keep doing it. It'll tell you who those next dudes are. So you can kind of pick up guys that you like. And then if you have a second or a third optimizer, you can put the same kind of things in, and they might give you a different low price dude. So, I like that kind of stuff. It just kind of gives you options. And then I hand build from what I see, what everybody else has. But yeah, I mean, there might be a situation too, where I'll be like, why are they recommending Kike? Do you love me on, on my play today? And I'm thinking, well, let me look. And I go back and look. I'm like, fuck, last 7 days, he's been smashing. Okay, cool. So I'll play him. He's 2,200 or whatever, especially if you're trying to decide on some of them bottom guys. But I think that's the best benefit for optimizer. It opens up your eyes to different things that you wouldn't even necessarily thought of that, there's just so many different things. So to me, it's like a different point of view, talking to you, telling you, giving you opinions on what you could do, what you should do. So a lot of times that's why I like, you know what, you could just run it flat. Hey, I want the top 4-4 stack on FanDuel today. What is it? Boom. It'll tell you Padres, fucking Blue Jays. And you're like, I don't like the Padres. So you take out the Padres, and the next team's the Indians. You're like, I don't like the Indians. And then you take them out, run it again. Like, I just like to do that sometimes. Then all of a sudden you're like, well, why is it on Peterson every time? Oh, now it's on Sonny Gray. So obviously now I got a totally different lineup build because I got a high-end pitcher. So a lot of times I like just looking at, really what it's telling me, what it's spitting out. And they're all different, man. Every optimizer, you can spin 10 different optimizers with the same parameters, and they'll give you pretty much about 80% of the same. The other 20% is different.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you put like a 5 minimum on every optimizer for Astros, you're going to get 5 in the 9. But those one-offs can be all random players at a million different things. Like if you have randomness, it's randomizing projections with some sort of correlation built in as well, and ownership and everything. So much goes into that. But let's talk some bats, Gyiraszin. 8 games on tap. Hope everybody out there again doing well. Enjoyed it. A little game theory, DFS, random talk. It wasn't about Gyiraszin's ladies or anything that he loves, knockers. It wasn't nothing like that. It was actually educational. I know. Hey, first game, Boston Red Sox, Philadelphia Phillies, Christopher Sanchez, Nick Pivetta on the mound. Again, 70 degrees in Boston, so a little cooler compared to other spots. Yeah, this is the game I don't love bats. Like, I like both pitchers. Phillies, Sox, if I had to pick a side, I much prefer the Phillies because you get the lefties. Pivetta, pretty big splits, great against righties. Lefties can be hit a little bit. Literally the same thing I said yesterday. You can play Schwarber, you can play Harper. Hopefully you did play Schwarber. He had quite the game. Double dong, I believe. However, like I'm not 5-man stacking Phillies. So if you're one-offing them, you're spending up for a one-off, which means that you might not be able to spend up for like a Judge and Yankee stacks or whatever it is. But that does get you different, and it is a smaller slate. So I guess on all of that note, I'll throw it to you. But I like pitchers more. I won't have many bats in this game.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Pavetta's just been pitching pretty well. I mean, it's just not really a spot. I think I'd much rather attack the Phillies. I think mentally they're going to be down a little bit, losing their catcher. So I think that's going to be a sting to the Phillies. So that's something, I'd be looking at there, like by using Pavetta. But yeah, I like both pitchers here. I don't even really, there's not to me any kind of one-offs I'd really like. I mean, Sanchez has such a high ground ball rate that, I'm just not interested in really picking on him there. I mean, we like the park. Don't get me wrong. I just think, this is one of the best parks to, play offenses in, but I just think there's too good of some pitching here today on both sides, and it's not worth it. I mean, we're sitting at a tight slate. I mean, we got the Yankees game sitting at 10.5. It's 2 runs over every other one. It's almost like a Coors Field here today, with the Yankees and Kansas City. So all the other over-unders, the highest are 8.5. So, I mean, we're sitting here looking at like where this game's sitting at 8. We literally have 1, 2, 3 other games that have higher sitting at 8.5. So, yeah, I'm just not a fan of this one here, but I just can't stomach it on either side, to be honest with you. I don't even want to fool with it.
Yeah, you see it the same way. I think you'll see it kind of similar in this next one. Miami Marlins, New York Mets, Braxton Garrett, David Peterson on the mound. Again, 75 degrees, decent hitting weather. It's, again, like almost 90. Some places in the Midwest. I'm not playing Miami against Peterson. I do understand, like, if you want, someone mentioned earlier, you want leverage. Miami is a spot where you can get leverage, and it's somewhat of a small slate. None of these guys really interest me. Like, my favorite bats usually the Jazz of the world. I guess Jazz is usually the bat I play. I don't like them usually lefty. I don't know. If I had to play anyone, it's probably Josh Bell or Dane Myers. But I like Peterson. I won't get leverage off the Marlins. The Mets side, like I'd much rather play a low-owned Mets naturally than try and get the double leverage off the pitcher. Just don't play Peterson, and you'll avoid a lot of chalk there. Hope he gives up 3, 4, walk some guys. The strikeouts aren't there. Mets side, some of these righties, you like Pete Alonso yesterday, it didn't work out. I think going right back to him at low ownership, though, a Lindor, JD, Starling Marte, some of these righties I'm good with. Garrett struggles a little bit against righties. So do I love the Mets as my top 3 stack? No. They'll be low owned, though, in a low total game. So I think they're interesting at a low owned stack. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Braxton Garrett, you look at his game log, I was just saying, I think he's given up quite a few earned runs here in his last recent times. 5, 6 earned runs his last 2 starts. He only went 2 innings last start. But, you mentioned he does struggle against righties. I always like me some JD Martinez against lefties. That's for sure. So, I think Alonso is interesting too, as you mentioned. Braxton Garrett does have a mid 50% ground ball lean to both sides of the plate, which, he's more of a ground ball type pitcher. So you're going to want to look at the guys who, have some fly ball tendency. You're looking at Alonso, 37% fly balls. So I definitely like, him today to start out. But yeah, I just don't like this game. Like we mentioned, this game here is just sitting at a 7.5, lowest total on the slate, tied with the White Sox in Seattle. So I think the pitching's too good here. I'm just going to leave it alone. Maybe some one-off. Maybe Alonso or JD is a one-off. I think it'd be about it.
Yeah, I like it. You and I are very similar there. First 2 games, not much in terms of bats. Prefer the pitching. And this game, another one where both pitchers going to get some ownership, but we have an 8 total. Guardians, Reds, Tanner Bybee, Nick Lodolo on the mound. 85 degrees in Cincy. Again, great park, good hitting weather, but we do have 2 solid pitchers. Again, this is one of those games where I think you target a side of the plate if you're playing it. The Cleveland side against Lodolo, you prefer righties, but he's just a solid pitcher overall. Reds against Bybee, lefties definitely hit him a little better. Friedel, Ellie, Candelario. But again, man, 2 solid pitchers. We're going to get to – it's 8-game slate. couple of these games we're going to talk about have way worse pitchers. They're like a half bullpen game, like the Yankees are going against or the Dodgers are going against. So I don't know. I guess of Mets, Cleveland, Reds, how would you rank them? I'd probably have Mets 1, Reds 2, Cleveland 3.
I'd probably have Cleveland a little bit
higher.
Throw
Philly in there too.
Just because I don't want to fuck with that bullpen, man. Indians bullpen's been really good. So, but yeah, you mentioned Bobby. He does struggle a little less. He's got 23% strikeout rate in his last month here against lefties, and he's got 31% against righties. Friedel, you could definitely go there. BB doesn't really he has more of a fly ball lean than he does a ground ball lead, especially to the left side. So as you mentioned, they can throw 3 lefties or 4 out of 5 up at the top, especially with Candelario being a switch. So yeah, I think the Reds are a little bit more interesting. I just don't like fooling with that bullpen because even if Baby gets in trouble, they're going to be able to bring another guy that's, is a stud arm. So I'm just a little bit worried about that there. I just don't like fooling against, Cleveland's bullpen. I think we got other spots that we could look at.
I'm with you. I think this next game you are going to have some interest in, though. Actually, yeah, I think you're going to have some interest here. Bailey Falter on the mound for Pittsburgh, taking on Sonny Gray for the Cardinals. 8.5 total, almost 90 degrees in St. Louis. And St. Louis has one of the higher team totals on the slate. So how I'm seeing it right now, I think Paul Goldschmidt is going to be very, very chalky. Very, very might be a little exaggerating, but he's going to be one of the most popular first basemen, if not the most on the slate, against the lefty at only 4.1K. I like St. Louis, but I think not playing Paul Goldschmidt in St. Louis stacks is even better because a lot will have Goldschmidt. People will one-off Goldschmidt. You get the stack St. Louis and Goldschmidt isn't on there, you just bury a lot of teams. So I think this lineup is in play. I don't know if I want this Mike Ciani guy in the outfield spot out there, but he's going to be low owned. It's a wraparound stack, and it's pretty much a full punt. So I'll say 1 through 9, but I think Goldschmidt at ownership is my least favorite. Falter's not good, though. I think these Cardinals are a little interesting.
Yeah, Falter's not good. He does not miss right-handed bats at all, like very much at all. So he does have a ground ball lean toward the left side. He's like 56%. Versus lefties, righties, it's like full 20% drop. It goes like to 35%. So, I mean, this guy just isn't missing any bats. You're right. Goldschmidt, Arenado, I think these guys win up at the top. I mean, I like the full stack here. I'd even go as far as go down to Dylan Carlson even because he'll be fairly cheap. So I don't mind them at all. It's just the Cardinals have been blah, right? We just haven't liked the Cardinals. They have picked it up a little bit here in the last few weeks, but they just been one of them teams that have been struggling all since the beginning of the season. So, but man, it's just kind of hard to stack the Cardinals just because they've been so shitty. But I think Goldschmidt will be pretty high owned today. I think Arenado will be high owned. But yeah, I don't mind them. I think it's a decent play. I mean, St. Louis, average park. I mean, it's nothing special. It's not
in the
really,
summer. It gets better in the summer.
It does pick up a little bit. So. But yeah, I mean, I think I just full stack the Cardinals. If you like the Cardinals, just full stack it. Go 5 Cardinals on DK, and just fairly cheap too. So I mean, you might be able to get some pretty good pitching out of it. Where you don't have to go down to Peterson. So I mean, that's a bonus. You'll definitely be different with that. So yeah, I think the Cardinals are in play just because of their pricing.
Another thing I like to do when the opportunity aligns, like not forcing it by any means, but Sonny Gray, and then you play the 5-man Cardinals. The win doesn't mean as much on DK as it does on FanDuel, but hey, I mean, if Cardinals are putting up a lot of runs, you expect Sonny Gray to probably at least get the win, have some run support. Some pitchers pitch better there anyway. I already like Sonny Gray. Get run support, you get the win. Makes some sense to me. 4 games left, Gyiraszin. I know you're going to have some interest in this one. Coors Field Jr. today. New York Yankees, Kansas City Royals. Cody Petit on the mound for the Yankees. Going to be a bullpen game. It looks like Daniel Lynch will get a couple innings as the long reliever, the lefty. But after that, it's going to be a Kansas City bullpen game. 90 degrees, pretty humid in KC. 2 of the best offenses. Yankees absolutely went off yesterday. I mean, the hole to poke in the Yankees is ownership. I think really that's it. And it's baseball. I guess at what ownership do you fade? And I do think they're probably the chalkiest team on the slate. I don't know. 8-game slate with other options. I think if I had to pick a single entry, I'd probably fade the Yankees today. I think they're better in larger field stuff when ownership gets more spread out, whereas in smaller field stuff, it usually gets more condensed. So I'd be more willing to play them in larger field than smaller field. Take it away, though, both sides.
Yeah, we got us a scenario where, the two teams are better than generally the teams that are in cores, right? Like it's the same kind of thing. We got two runs higher on the over-unders than every other game. And it's just not cores. It's, obviously Kansas City. We mentioned yesterday, top 3 park and, for runs being scored. So now we got hot weather. We got literally the fucking hottest hitter in the planet, Aaron Judge. I mean, the dude's, it's just not even right.
Too good.
But, and we mentioned,
he's behind what? Jose Ramirez and Barry Bonds, and there's Aaron Judge.
Well, according to Jose Ramirez, he's higher than Barry Bonds. So that's the most asinine statement I've ever heard in my life. Barry Bonds, that stretch. If you're a baseball fan, watch during that. There was nobody out ever that had a stretch like that. Barry Bonds was not even seeing pitches. They were throwing him 4 feet wide of that. What was the asshole man? Was it Valentine that walked him with the bases loaded?
Yeah, well, that's why Jose Ramirez.
I want no part of that guy.
That's why Jose said it, because he got walked too. That's why I think he made that comparison.
So, but, I think the Yankees, man, it's tough to fade. I mean, it is kind of tough to fade them. I mean, I think if you're going to do so, you best consider Wells or a catcher or the bottom part of that lineup and kind of wrap it around a little bit. Or whoever plays Yankees going to have that Stepnick guy from the Angels up there too, because, he's hitting the top of the lineup. That was like everybody who had a high-priced team yesterday had that guy in as a one-off. Yeah. So, you just kind of got to look and think about how you're building your Yankee team if that's what you're going to do today. I mean, they are hard to fade, man. They're really hard to fade. I get it, but I think there's.
What about Royals?
I don't like attacking that Yankees bullpen, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not really worried about Petit here, but that Yankee bullpen's pretty good, so that's kind of tough.
They're going to get
ownership,
I
think
too.
The Royals are interesting. I think that'd be a low-owned one that I think you get. You don't think so?
No, I think people are going to see that weather, see that park, and outside of Bobby Witt, the players people are going to want to play on KC. Bobby Witt, who you're spending up for, it's a bad shortstop position, and he's just a stud. Nelson Velasquez should be hitting middle of the order at 3.7 is going to get ownership. I think MJ Melendez does. Waters is a punt. And then in KC stacks, Salvi at a catcher position where I think a lot of people will punt. They'll think paying up's a little more contrarian. I just think there's only so many spots people can go today, and they'll see the weather. I don't think they're going to be they're going to be lower on the Yankees, maybe 4th highest on the slate. But if you like them, play them. But I don't think they'll be low. I don't think you go Bryce Miller, Peterson, and then just get your 5 Royals and think you're different, is what I'm trying to say.
Makes sense. Yeah. I can see. I mean, you got a game with 10.5. So, I mean, optimizers are going to push you toward that too. I mean, and that's the thing. Once you start fooling with optimizers, it's like kind of guessing sportsbook lines after you've been sports betting so long. You're pretty damn close generally. I mean, you can pretty much call it a lot of times too. So, but yeah, I mean, the Yankees, you guys don't need us to tell you the Yankees are a good play. We all know the Yankees are a good play. The Royals are a good play. I think this game is going to get some ownership here. I mean, if I think the game stack there, is going to get ownership. I think you're going to see that just because the Royals are so cheap. You'll probably see a lot of 5-3, 5-2 Yankee stacks. So, especially with Peterson being so cheap. But yeah, I mean, 10.5 game. It's obviously the game here to play today. But I mean, you could see a couple teams now. So let's just put this out there. Yankees are going to be chalk title. What 2 teams would you say have the best chance to outscore the Yankees today?
Royals because of the weather. The bullpen does scare me a bit, but I'll say Royals because if they jump on them early, you don't get the best arms, and because of the weather. I guess it's hard not to say Dodgers, but maybe that's a little recency. But the thing is, they're going to get a lot of the bullpen. The lineup's one of the best in baseball. I guess the sneaky one I'll say besides that, I want to say Cardinals because Falter's so bad and it's good hitting weather, but I don't know if there's enough home run upside with the Cardinals. Like they're gonna have to string together like what the 18 hits the Guardians did in Coors like a couple weeks ago and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say Royals, Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to see, who else other than the Dodgers you might say, because I think the Yankees and Dodgers are clearly the top two teams, especially after both scoring a bunch of runs. You're going to have some recency bias there. I was just curious to see who you would say that third team was. I mean, it's interesting. You could argue the Royals. You could argue St. Louis, and I think you could argue a team like possibly Arizona, or, you know, you could, go somewhere like that too. So, it's just interesting. I was just curious because – if we couldn't really name anybody other than the Dodgers, I mean, I think that just tells me even more that the Yankees would be even more highly owned than we're even anticipating. So I think that's kind of why I was asking you. And, Tolga A put in there, Judge 6,600, you need to get him 25 points plus to be relevant. Yes, as far as point per dollar, but what if Aaron Judge is still the second highest scoring player on the slate? It doesn't matter what he got to his point value, really. You'll still need him to win. So, sometimes, you get caught up thinking, especially like football, you're like, I need my 10K running back's got to get me, Christian McCaffrey's got to get me fucking 40 points to even, be good. Well, football's different because there's so many different, players that could get you there. In baseball, if Aaron Judge hits you 2 bombs, which is, he obviously has the best chance, probably more than anybody, then you obviously got to have him at that point. That's why you're paying the premium for him. But, dude, go look at Aaron Judge's game log. He's an automatic 15, 20 points. The guy's fucking sick, man. I was giving him shit the beginning part of the year, and golly, man, that dude, he's mad at the world for something, man. He's pounding the shit out of that baseball.
Yeah, he is. He's talented, no doubt about that. Can you tell me what GPP means in DFS? I did see Tolga responded, but guaranteed prize pool, and what that means is a tournament. If you're familiar with poker, there's tournaments and cash games in DFS. Just say there's 100 people, 50-50, $5 50-50 pays out $9 to 1 through 50. You could have the best lineup in the world and take first place. You only make $4 profit. $1 goes to FanDuel or DraftKings for the rake. Tournaments, just say there's 1,000 people in it. First place might be worth $5,000. Second place, $3,000, and then min cash is $50 or whatever. So it's a prize, like first place, it's a tournament. You make the most money. Second place, you make a little less, but more than third. Only pays out like 20%, roughly. Changes depending. And that's where all the cheese is. 100K up top, all of that. Cash games is more boring route, safer route. You can't make as much money ROI-wise that way. So hope that explains it. 3 games left, Gyiraszin. White Sox, Mariners, Jonathan Cannon,
You forgot
Bryce Miller.
one part, though, Title. I don't mean to, cut you off there, but the best part about GPPs is they're guaranteed to pay you that prize pool. So even if there's 10,000 people, as Title was mentioning this year on Drafters, who does sponsor us,
160, I forgot.
Yeah, they added more people, so they're probably not going to get up to their half. So here we go. We can lead into it. Yeah, get you a nice bonus deposit up to $100 by using promo code SHIPIT, but they're not going to fill it up. So you get overlay. So now all of a sudden, if it's 10,000 people and they only get 8,000, well, guess what? You already beat 2,000 people, before you even start. So a lot of people, like if you got money in your bankroll, which I don't always say is the right thing to do unless you really like your team that day, but which sometimes eats your bankroll is when you're looking 2 minutes before lock and you're like, well, shit, man, this one's half full. I'm going to get in. It's only $50. And then you get in and then you look a couple minutes before, like 20 seconds before, and it's almost full because all the rest of us donkeys are doing the same damn thing. But drafters should have a really nice overlay this year. You've been saying they've been having quite a big overlay before. So for them,
the last 2 years, and they pretty much doubled the contest. So I would expect it. But even if you told me no overlay, I think there's plenty enough people out there paying the rake that don't do their due diligence, and it's a different drafting strategy than the other sites. I think the edge alone, even if it filled, it's the best out there. And I'm not just saying that because we're partnered with drafters or I won drafters. I truly believe it is the softest out there. So, that's what I'll say. Let's move on. 3 games. White Sox, Mariners, Jonathan Cannon, Bryce Miller, 7.5 total. But the Mariners have a solid team total, like 4.6, 4.7. It's a 7.5 total because the White Sox aren't even at 3. That's how bad they are. People are playing Bryce Miller. I don't think it's worth playing White Sox as leverage. Talk to me if you think Mariners are in play.
I think the Mariners are in play. Anytime you get a young kid on the mound, you definitely got to think about him being in play. And we know right behind him is one of the worst bullpens, as I mentioned when the show started, in MLB. So, yeah, absolutely. I think they're in play. I mean, some people may even play Cannon here, so I can't say he's going to be too high when we're really going to get that good of leverage. But, at the top of this lineup, Crawford, Raleigh, Rodriguez, Haneker, Luke Raley, I think all these guys are in play today. I think it's pretty good. Mitch Garver has been smacking the shit out of the baseball here recently, too, for Seattle. He's actually, in the last week, he's in like the top 3, I think, of OPS in all of MLB. So, I think, they're definitely interested. I don't even know if Garver is going to get in there today, but he is smacking the shit out of it. But either way, I think they're definitely interesting. I think anytime you got a rookie pitcher coming out, I mean, what do we know? We don't even know really what he's going to get, how much time, what kind of pitch count he's going to get.
Their bullpen sucks.
The bullpen sucks. So I think the Mariners are definitely in play here. But I mean, you're looking at a 7.5 total, but as you mentioned, that's, the White Sox are sitting at a 3. I mean, come on, that's terrible. 3. That's just bad. But
I ain't running to bet the over. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me neither. That's not even no way. That's not even close. But yeah, I mean, I think Seattle is a team you could look at as a low-owned, sneaky kind of stack here today. Probably won't get too much ownership, but I mean, hey, we're attacking that bullpen. I mean, you know what? Even if this kid goes out and has 5 great innings, we get half of the game with that bullpen. I still think that's not bad.
Yeah, we saw it 2 days ago. Was when Cal Raleigh hit the grand slam in the 9th or whatever. Like a lot of it was against the bullpen. They are that bad.
Yep.
2 games left. Gyiraszin, Angels, D-backs, Jose Soriano, Slate, Sassoni on the mound. 8.5 total. D-backs, you mentioned them a little earlier. Solid team total, similar to the Mariners, about 4.7. The problem is like Jose Soriano, heavy ground ball lean. So like when I compare them to the Royals, the Yankees, the Cardinals, I don't know, maybe even the Mets. Like Arizona's going to get a little ownership, not chalky by any means, but with a heavy ground ball lean, it just leads me to a couple guys. Jock Peterson looks really good in the 3 spot. Ketel Marte looks solid. Christian Walker, I'm good with, even righty. But I don't know how much I love the 5-man stack, Gyiraszin. I'll tell you. So, yeah, I'm indifferent. Mainly a mini stack or one-offs at best for the ground ball lean. Talk to me if you have a different opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Soriano, if that guy if he don't walk people, I was just looking, he usually gets in trouble with his walks. But you're right, heavy ground ball lean, mid 50% to lefties, almost 65% to righties. So definitely got to think about that. But I think it's interesting. I think I would just full stack Arizona if you wanted to go there. I wouldn't really put too many one-off guys. I just full stack them and go right after it. Lower K percentage to lefties, almost by 10%. So the Corbin Carrolls, Peterson, as you mentioned, is interesting. I don't even mind playing Jake McCarthy either. So all these guys, Ketel Marte has been hitting pretty well recently. So I think I would just full stack it. The ground ball lean does worry me a little bit. So that's something you got to think about there. Angel bullpen is right behind Colorado and in between Chicago and Texas as a shit ass bullpen. So we got that working for us too with Arizona. So I think that is interesting. So yeah, I think Arizona is in play as a full stack. Now on the other side, Sassoni, I mean, we got a strikeout pitcher and a fly ball pitcher sitting here. This dude's sitting at a little over 2.2 something for strikeouts per 9. So, I mean, home runs per 9. I'm sorry. So I think, the Angels could be in play here. We already talked about Stepnick going to be at the top of that lineup, going to be really cheap. So
I think he's a bad one-off. I'll say that again.
Yeah, right now he is, because now he's known. Everybody knows who he is. He's going to get steamed up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just sitting here looking.
Taylor Ward looks good.
Taylor Ward, 42% fly ball rate. I mean, that's a pretty high fly ball rate. So you got a fly ball pitcher who's going to throw strikes. I mean, I like that combination. I think Taylor Ward is a pretty good play here today too. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think this game could be a game that could see some fireworks. I'm not saying both sides like the game stack it, but I think one of these two teams could be in play where that might be able to keep up with the Yankees. And I think Arizona has a good shot at that full stack, and Angels ain't too far behind. So I like both of these sides here.
Yeah, no, I like the Angels a little bit yesterday, and then I overlooked them, I think, a little bit. I think some of those guys, especially Taylor Ward, Pilar, Logan Ahope, Willie Calhoun.
You got the Raptors thing still up there. They can't see our, my good-looking haircut I got today.
Wait, are you? It is because my computer really might be tweaking.
It's tweaking. There you go.
It was up there literally for 15 minutes.
It's been up there since we were talking about drafters.
That is so weird. People in YouTube chat, please let me know if you saw that too, because my computer really, it's been normal for me this whole time. I've been looking at you. No. I could be as high as ever and still know what if I'm looking at drafters. Yeah, you thought that's you over there.
No, it's that drafters on there, man. And when you changed it went back.
Yeah, yeah. All right, last game. So
hey, if we could pass one back and forth, trust me, we might.
We've done it multiple times for sure. Not over the screen, but in real life. All right, Rangers, Dodgers, John Gray, Walker Buehler, 65 degrees in LA, 8 total. Again, it's John Gray. You mentioned you saw like 4 innings. Then you're going to get a Rangers bullpen that was beat up yesterday. Again, not great hitting weather at all relative to the slate. Maybe a little recency bias. People just saw the Dodgers do it yesterday. Smaller slate, not too many options. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. I guess I'll throw it to you on that note. Do you think people chase recency bias a little bit and Dodgers are still in a fine spot where they get steam and they come in over-owned? Or do you think Yankees, Royals, other teams take enough where it's still Dodgers 10% or whatever, totally fine to play them?
I've been asking myself that a few times when I was looking at the slate. And I think I'm going to lean title that I think the Yankees are going to get more of the ownership. And I think the Dodgers are a pretty good pivot off the Yankees, actually. I mean, yeah, people are going to be talking about them. But, I mean, if you're making 1 or 2 or 3 teams, I'm going to assume more than not are going to just stack up some Yankees, right? So I think, in 2, looking at the stacks here, I mean, my boy Mookie, love me some Mookie, as y'all know. He just hasn't been Mookie. I mean, I'd rather pay for Shohei. There was at the beginning of this year, I was like, oh, you couldn't afford really both. It's like the Yankees. You can't afford both Soto and Judge because, you're basically picking from the bottom of the barrel the rest of your guys. So, I just would much rather at this point, obviously, lean to Shohei. So, safety meeting all day or your balls are stuck to your pants. That's about it. When it's 90 degrees out here in the Midwest, damn Skippy, you got to have a safety meeting. I know one of you guys put something funny up there when Title's just laughing at
Because I'm like, is he asking, would you rather be high all day with a safety meeting or balls to your pants? Both? Is he laughing at your sayings? I don't know where that was going. But
okay, it gets so hot sometimes. And for me, my day job, I go in these factories and I see these people working and I'm like, fuck. I'm so happy I can get in some air conditioning. I feel bad I'm going to go to the store and buy them all some damn popsicles, in these factories.
That's nice of you.
I have done that, though. Bought popsicles, walk around. I'm like the coolest dude in there.
I bet. That's dope. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But, man, I think the Dodgers are just a really good play. You know what, Title? I don't think they're going to be that high owned as we kind of think today, to be honest. I think every one of them will be less than probably 20%, I think. I don't think they're going to see that high owned. I think you're going to see some of the Yankees are going to get high owned, and then you're going to have to play some low price teams. So I think maybe a team like St. Louis might get a little more ownership than we think just because of their pricing being so cheap. So, but to build a Dodgers and Yankees team, good luck. I mean, you're not really going to have too much success doing that. Even with Peterson, you
need Peterson and the White Sox guy, or Peterson, Garrett, and then you still need to bottom the order on some spots. But I do think you maybe can.
Yeah, I mean,
if you do that low, but
right,
you're giving up
wanted
a lot.
To go that low. But I think the Dodgers are a really good pivot off the Yankees today. I think that's a pivot you could use. And yesterday, Title, I went to bed. Was sitting pretty. I think I was in 4th place in the DK 121 single entry, 5th place. I was like, doing pretty good. Went to bed. And I was like, let's see what happened. Wake up in the morning. I'm like, wait, what do you mean I didn't cash? Fuck you talking about? 5th. And I look and I was like, 15 runs? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Then I had to kick the dog, let the dog out this morning. Was like, well, good thing about DFS. We can come back
tomorrow. Absolutely. That's all 8 games. Good stuff as always, Gyiraszin. I wanted to double check because I thought it was going to be gone after today. Don't tell Tambo and Hoop, though. I'll give another day before I let them know. If you didn't join, if you haven't joined at ShipItNation.com, the promo code is still live right here. FGWC15, Fantasy Golf World Championship 15 from our guys Hoop and Tambo. Both made it, worth like $80,000. And they got I think it's in Detroit at the end of the month. Very, very exciting stuff. Can't wait to cheer them on. I know Detroit, absolutely crazy. If you do want to join us, though, right here, join the nation. This works for, go to monthly. It's monthly or annual packages right here for monthly. I hope that was not my address. No, that's not, thankfully. It was maybe in the past. FGWC15, enter. Gets you 15% off right here, $58.65. And that does, if you don't cancel, it carries over, continues to take 15% off. That's how you get in. And again, drafters, like we mentioned, if you want to head over to drafters.com, best ball season's here, $15, 500,000 up top. Definitely could be some overlay like the past 2 years. $2 contest, 150 max as well. We will start doing DFS or doing best ball content early next month. I'll be doing shows. Big Marley might be hopping on. Maybe I'll bring someone else in. We'll have rankings. Right now we have a Discord, though. If you have any questions, put in $100. Use the promo code SHIPIT. Drafters will give you $100 on top. Anything else people saying? Popsicles, people laughing. There's Greg. Someone responded to your email, Russell.
Noons in a plant, they'll kick me out. I'd give them all pre-rolls if I could. I'd walk around and hand them all pre-rolls. They'd all love me then. But then nothing.
What is that, a OSHA?
OSHA becoming. You can't be surprised. You can't be giving safety meetings out to all the people in the plant. Well, I say, well, there's for safety.
OSHA, I'm surprised I knew that. Some from school stuck in the brain. I knew something would break.
You know what, Title? I just realized something. For any of y'all shipping people, I'm telling you right now, who's probably going to ship that golf because he don't have to leave Wayne County. My man don't have to leave Wayne County to go live final. It's probably set up all for Hoop. The stars are lined up. When Hoop don't leave Wayne County. I've only seen him leave it a few times. I've been with him most of the time too, by the way. But I had to drag his ass around a few times. You don't leave. It's like he got a shock collar. He don't leave very far. But it should be fun though. But good times. But when you said it was in Detroit, I'm thinking, dude, Hoop.
Of course,
you don't have to leave home. Y'all are in trouble.
Maybe that's the only reason he played Gyiraszin.
That could, probably honest something right there. Hey, you get the extra $1,000 for the travel money. You don't have to travel.
There you go. Maybe that's why.
He's already a winner. Already won an extra G.
Yeah, there you go. Good luck to Hoop and Tambo. That's in a couple weeks, though. FGWC15 gets you 15% off. Glad you guys, a lot of people laughing. I'm laughing. Laughing is healthy. Appreciate you, Marshall. Russell, I'm glad we got back to your email. You got that squared away. Devin's in here. Everybody out there, have a great night. That's all 8 games. Take care. Gyiraszin, give a little cheers. Cheers, Gyiraszin. Enjoy your safety meeting. Let's win some cheese tonight. Gyiraszin, I'm Titletown. Be safe. Peace.